Welcome, everybody, to the For the Geeks podcast. Today is January 15th, 2023, the first podcast of the new year. We're back from our break. John's not here because he's a hoe, but today we have Boss and Uni here with me. How have you guys been these past couple weeks? How's your new year started so far?
Mine's been fine. I'm back in LA after being in Mexico for 2 weeks, so
Nice.
that's fun. It's been raining as shit,
Oh, yeah.
so I didn't get to really do anything Saturday. I was gonna have lunch with Sean,
Oh, really? Okay.
yeah, but it started raining, and I was like, yeah, you know what? If I think that's not gonna happen, and today I'm not doing shit, so
Right,
yeah.
right. Sean, I still talk to him. I still communicate with him on Instagram. I usually send him certain types of humor that I can't send other people because they wouldn't get it. That I can't really speak freely what kind of humor that is here because it's boss, you understand. But I'll ask you those questions after the podcast. But anyway, how about you, Uni? How you been?
I've been great. I've been good. I've been moving my schedule around because I do have a resolution towards where I want to play the games that I have so far.
Nice.
And I have a lot of games. I have a bad habit, but I have a lot
Me
of
too.
games, and I want to complete them this year. And I started playing Resident Evil, which was a strange idea, but I did it, and it was actually really fun. So I mean, I'm pretty good right now. I'm just playing all my games, so it's just like a nice thing to do.
Yeah. I mean, video games are great. Which Resident Evil, and was this for the Friday the 13th thing, or was that a different game?
Yes.
Oh,
So
okay.
I had some people vote against Plague Tales. Originally, I did want a Blair Witch personally because I wanted a Blair Witch project, but I had Plague Tales, Alien Isolation, and
Oh, Alien Isolation.
Resident Evil 7.
Okay.
And most of the people voted Resident Evil 7. So that
Okay.
was honestly it was a traumatic experience. It was really good, but I think I almost passed out on stream again.
Wait, what? Like sleeping or something else?
Like I got sick. I got so scared at one point that I think I overdid it for myself, and I
Oh
just got
shit.
like.
I
I mean, to me, it's completely normal. It's fine. It's nice, but I don't overdo it. But it was a really good game. That's all I can say.
oh, okay. Now I was thinking of passing out. I'm like, oh wait, yeah, people do faint when they get scared. That's right. I forgot that's a thing. I don't think I've ever had that when it comes to. 'Cause I don't particularly like horror video games, or horror movies, because they're typically predictable. Well, movies are predictable; they all suck. But for me, games, there's you have to be really crafty on how to spook me in games. Dead Space did a really good job of it, which we'll talk about that game later because they have a remake coming out. And that the level of creepiness in that game, like when I get scared, I don't faint. I just scream really loud because I'm angry because I got scared. Like, fuck, or whatever, because you just want to kill the monster, but they scared the shit out of you, so you're running away or something. Yeah. Well, that's good. I'm glad the stream was successful. What did the group hang out? Did anyone from the group hang out with you during the recording? Or
I had Yaya with me. He was like
yeah.
my support beacon, I guess. For those gonna say something, but yeah, he was there with me, but I was still so terrified. Like we're both just chilling. It was he was helping me out a couple of times. He saw some things I couldn't even see for myself.
That's usually what's helpful about being a streamer is people can notice things when you're not paying attention, and you're just like, oh shit, okay. It always helps to have when you have that for streaming, at least you have the back seating allowed available as like a tag or whatever. I usually play with no back seating so I can just figure shit out for myself. But I'm glad you had a successful run with the thing and whatever. Are we gonna like upload that on YouTube or anything, or is that just on the For the Geeks Twitch? Do you know?
I'm not sure yet. I'm gonna make some. I'm not sure yet. I was originally for that Friday, but I did miss the mark. But we're gonna go ahead and still use that clip.
Okay, cool. I'm just curious. All right. So good to see you guys doing well. For me, I got new toys. Literally, I got new toys to photograph, which I'll link some of the photos in the Discord later. Basically, I collect Star Wars, fucking Witcher, Lord of the Rings, and Power Ranger. All these 6-inch figure toys. And I bought this $90 diorama that I folded out, and now I use it like as a background and shit. And I just pose the figures, and I take pictures. So that's what I've been doing for the past 2 weeks. It's been pretty cool because I got some pretty cool Halo results to the point where like the official Halo page on Instagram actually liked my photo, and that's a pretty cool accomplishment for me, if I say so myself, because I've only had that happen like one other time with like popular cosplayers. They're just like, oh, nice, thanks for the picture or whatever. Although I tend to buy more, I plan to buy more dioramas because I really like this hobby. Like, I first started with doing normal photography with cosplayers, and now I discovered toy photography, and I think I could do more with toys because you don't have to pay toys money to stand there and pose. You can just pose them however you want. You don't have to feed them. You don't have to wait for them to change or take a shit or whatever. So, should be cool. But other than that, I've been enjoying the rain here. I don't know if you guys have been getting rain in where you're at, Uni, but we've been having like constant rain for the past X amount of weeks or whatever. It's great, but like there's floods and shit for like NorCal. For Southern California, we don't have any. There's no floods down here. It's still fucking dry for some reason.
I'm so sorry. Yeah, I heard. And over here we had like big storm, but it's mostly cold.
Okay. Oh, that's good. You don't have any water issues and shit. Yeah, I don't think we're even close to getting out of the drought. No, because we don't know how to harness the water properly for some reason. But anyway, getting into geek stuff. Let's see. First off the list, The Last of Us. So I don't know. I talked to Boss a little bit before you came in here, Uni. I'm excited personally for The Last of Us TV show tonight. That should be pretty cool because I have faith in the actors and the whoever got the access to the episodes early, because that's what review sites do. They said the content was pretty damn good. It was like an 8 or 9 on like IGN or something for like the first episode or whatever, which is coming from IGN. That's a big number considering they rank everything at a 7. So are you guys excited for that TV show on HBO Max, I believe? Yeah.
I canceled my subscription to HBO Max.
You can pirate
it. Yeah. But yeah, no, I was saying to you, the game is already pretty cinematic, and feels like it's kind of a live action thing. Like, if you're gonna make a game kind of or a survival or a series, that's like one of the ones on the top of the list that it's pretty easy to just transfer through because there's a lot of emotional depth.
Yeah.
It's really just like a story between two people, so.
I'm excited. I feel like it's a different art form. Like, yes, you could play for the first one. It is very cinematic. It's very good. Now, don't get me wrong. But I'm extremely excited for the show just to see the different art form of how they interpret everything, because I was reading and they were saying that they came close. And so I'm like excited to see I know it's going to be a little different. It's not going to be the exact same thing, but I'm still excited to see how it all came together.
I am very much so in that same category because I'm always looking for a really good live action adaptation of either a game or an anime, because ever since I was in high school and Boss gave me his friend's copy of Adobe After Effects, I was always trying to make Dragon Ball Z effects on like YouTube and shit, and to see how far I could go with recreating it, and they usually sucked, but I had fun doing it. But it's just cool to finally see that Hollywood's like, okay, maybe there's a market here in making live action stories from whatever. I just wish most of Hollywood would stick to the source material or stick to what makes the anime special in terms of storytelling instead of going off the rails. It looks like The Last of Us will be sticking to the story, unlike Rings of Power and Halo, for example, when they, or even The Witcher, where they don't give a shit and they want to make their own story and try to be unique, but they end up pissing off the whole fandom and losing money. So hopefully they don't have that problem with The Last of Us. Because that actually ties into what I was going to talk about next. I don't know if you guys watched or heard of the YouTube channel Corridor Digital. They did like a VFX artist react to some of the new stuff that came out in the past year. So like the Pinocchio movie from Guillermo del Toro, they praised it. They're like, okay, this is good stop motion. He had like X amount of years to make this movie. And then they get to Disney's Pinocchio and they're like, what the fuck is this? You have like one of the richest companies in the world and they have such a shitty budget that they basically, like, there's like a scene where Tom Hanks is running away from Monstro in the boat, or he's, swimming away because Pinocchio's pushing the boat. They basically just threw water on Tom Hanks to make him wet, and then they just dropped him in a CGI ocean. And you could tell they zoomed in, and it's CGI because none of the water is sticking to his clothing. It just touches it and it goes off, and it doesn't make the clothing wet. That's how cheesy and crappy Disney's VFX was on the movie, which I'm just surprised because it's Disney. They shouldn't have such a minuscule budget, and that breaks the immersion for live action. And then they went on to talk about like how I got another video like today of how like why anime is different, or even games is different from storytelling than live action. And one of the biggest things is masks. If you look in anime, they don't really care. They don't have a minuscule budget to worry about. They don't have time constraints. They do, but it's looser. And for example, Kakashi in Naruto. Okay, he looks like he's going to remove his mask. And then what does he do? There's another mask under it. If they made a live action of that, they would show his face from the very beginning, and there would be no mystery around the guy. So that's one thing that Hollywood does, is they don't know how to properly build up a character. They'll just, in storytelling, you're supposed to show, not tell, in terms of like exposition. So a lot of the time Hollywood just be like, okay, this is Robert Downey Jr. We have to show his face a lot, even though Iron Man wears his mask all the fucking time in the comics and whatever. We don't care. We're going to show the guy's face because we don't know what he's feeling. Like, in anime, you don't have to do that. We know what they're feeling because of the way everything is set up. So I hope they're able to communicate that with The Last of Us, because yeah, like a lot of the time they don't know what the fuck they're doing, especially with the Cowboy Bebop Netflix. Everything that happened in like a 5-second panel of animation, the live action Netflix for Cowboy Bebop extended it to like 3 minutes of useless information, which I can't believe they did that. Like, I think it was like Spike was looking at, it was the scene where Spike is revealed and he lifts up the sombrero or whatever, and then the live action, it's just a bunch of shots looking from Spike looking at the bad guy, and they just cut in between the two for like 5 takes for some reason. Like, that's terrible storytelling. So I hope I don't see any of that. I'm really excited for Last of Us because, yeah, again, it's good cinematic story. So yeah, I just went on a very long fucking speech right there. But I get excited when I talk about these things. No, but I was gonna say, in terms of the gaming for Last of Us, I don't know where they're gonna go with it, because I know Naughty Dog, like, they're just shifting everything towards The Last of Us. Like, they just don't care about Jak and Daxter anymore. They don't care about Uncharted. They clearly don't care about Uncharted because of that horrible movie that came out. And like I was disappointed when they released the Uncharted. I think that this whatever edition they released on PC, it was only Uncharted 4 and like the side story or whatever. Did you play any of the Uncharted games, boss, or Uni?
I played the first one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then I played a little bit of multiplayer on it because I just thought it was fun throwing propane tanks around and shooting them and stuff and blowing people up.
Oh yeah, that was fun. I remember those days.
I don't remember.
No,
I don't remember the first one. I don't remember the first two. I know the recent one. Well, to me, it was recent. I know that the latest one, That's the one I did really get into. Um, yeah, I was having fun with that. I was just laughing at myself. But no, to go on what you were saying, I just feel like Naughty Dog, no, not Naughty Dog. I just feel like Last of Us was just their most successful, and so they're sticking to it. They're
Yeah,
just sticking.
yeah, that's like Ubisoft with Assassin's Creed. You know, you have Assassin's Creed, Ghost Recon, and Splinter Cell as their big titles, and then over time, Splinter Cell just failed because, well, because they fucked up with Blacklist and they lost $6 million on that stupid game. And then Ghost Recon just became, it went from being tactical to open world. Let's just shoot people wherever we want, and now it's just Assassin's Creed. And it got to the point where they had to remake Assassin's Creed to be how the originals were because people were sick of the open world RPG shit, and they're still banking on Assassin's Creed. So I kind of hate that when gaming companies are like, okay, this one thing works, let's stick with it and milk the shit out of it and ignore all of our other, great IPs and stories and whatever. Because I know, like, because like Square Enix doesn't do that. They have Final Fantasy, and then they have like Tactics Ogre. They have Octopath Traveler. Now they have Harvestella. They have all these other games, even though their big ticket is Final Fantasy and Final Fantasy 14. I just wish, I would love to see a current day Jack and Daxter reboot or whatever. Like, because I couldn't beat the first game. I beat the second and third one. Those were really fun with all the dark eco and light eco. And yeah, as much as I love, and I would love more Uncharted games. That would be great, but I don't think we're gonna get that. They're just gonna stick with what works in their eyes and whatnot. Unfortunately,
You made two good points there. Or at least the last point you just said about studios. Like you'd figure, like, okay, you have like a studio that's making a ton of money off of one IP.
mm-hmm.
It's like, all right, well now it would be different if it's like, okay, like a low budget studio that like made a franchise and it's like, okay, that's what they need in order to remain profitable, have their employees. But like if you're sitting on a gang of money, that should give you like some creative freeway and leeway to like, have like a couple of developers like branch off and say, okay, we're going to work on this project and see what happens. Like we can give up, well, not give up, but we can invest like $2-3 million and see if something happens. And this might be a great game, like a little, game that comes out that feels indie or something, or just a different franchise. See what happens. Because people get tired of shit. I mean,
Oh yeah.
We don't play Rock Band anymore.
No, but they still have songs coming out.
Gears of War is pretty much dead. Like, Yeah. And then the other thing you're saying about movies, I think it's just, I mean, it's pretty tried and true with Hollywood, where like if they take some franchise that has a hardcore base, they still want to make the film that has like an interest for casual viewers. So you always get like a whole bunch of exposition dumping.
Yeah.
And or sometimes even the worst of it, where they'll just like, well, this villain doesn't seem too edgy enough, or we don't think people understand this because we don't have time to develop this villain, like the one that's in the story. So we need to just like create some story for the film to get people into it, and then that's just like crap, because it's like, well, that's not how this person exists at all, or maybe this person isn't even there. Bleach. So. It's weird. And then on the opposite coin of that, like you have like, okay, if you have a film studio that wants to really do like how stick to the source material, it's usually low budget. So you got to work with like, it looks visually shittier. So there's never like a happy medium between like, okay, we're going to give you a bunch of money and we'll let you just do it the way that you want to do it. And for something like The Last of Us, I think the closer you can get in a franchise that just has like a human story, just like a story that's relatable, that you don't really have to stretch too far to create, I think the more leeway you can get in just making it how you want to make it. Like you don't have to explain so much stuff because people kind of already get what it's going for, as opposed to like trying to make some fucking anime into a live action movie. It's just you're gonna miss some point. You're gonna miss the hardcore audience because they're not gonna get enough of what they want, or you're not gonna get as much in the box office because casual viewers are gonna be like, nah, I don't really want to watch this.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, they just don't want to watch it, which is lame.
It is like for like this is such a big topic to talk about. I'm glad we're doing it. So like one thing that from the video, which I'll link it. It's the one where they were talking about Cowboy Bebop. The scene where this is where like live action fails and anime succeeds, and I know why live action fails here for two reasons. One, for some reason, live action like movies, Hollywood does not like doing voiceovers. Absolutely, they just want to show you everything in the stupidest way possible by having the character speak out loud, even though it's like an inner monologue. It like that's what's interesting about anime. You have, for example, you have Light versus L playing tennis, and they're having a 2-minute conversation in their head, and you don't see their mouths moving, and that's what's interesting because you're in the head of the characters. Hollywood would just have them fucking speak out loud to themselves, and that kind of ruins the whole vibe with it and whatnot. And like another thing is anime knows how to make everything important that you see on the screen. A lot of movies fucking fail at doing that. Or live action adaptations. So like the Cowboy Bebop, when Spike is fighting over the red, I don't know what the hell that shit is called, the injection stuff that gives you red eyes. When he's fighting over that stuff with the guy and the girl looks like she's pregnant. In the anime, she gets, shot across the stomach, and you're like, oh shit, she's pregnant. No, there's just a bunch of vials that she's carrying under her shirt, and it drops out. And you as the viewer are like, oh, okay, she's smuggling that. She's not actually pregnant. But in the live action, you don't really get the same feeling because they're constrained by budget, and they don't really focus on the characters themselves for storytelling. They focus on everything else, which is not how anime is done. Because with anime, you don't plan out, okay, I'm going to have a wide shot here. You just start fucking drawing, and then you put it up, and you're like, okay, I know how to make this work, and I can tell the story in like, 30 frames or whatever, and whatnot. And they're just better at storytelling when it comes to doing a story for anime. And even a simple thing such as slow motion. Hollywood always uses slow motion for dodging, like because of the Matrix. Anime uses slow motion for impact. You see Spike's fist coming for the drug guy's face. What happens with the slow motion? Point of impact, you see his face get all like that and shit. Hollywood would just only use it for the guy dodging, and that's terrible storytelling because it's superbly overused. Like, we saw it in the Matrix, we've seen it in Spider-Man. Like, it needs to be a better vehicle for storytelling, like anime does it. But going back to the whole with the money thing, yeah, like Disney. They have Star Wars, but that's not their main vehicle for money. They have Marvel, and they're going through all of that because they have multiple ways to make money. Naughty Dog doesn't. They have one vehicle now that they care about. Ubisoft, one. EA still banks a lot on Star Wars, unfortunately, because they'd rather trust the big names that everyone likes. And I think and even Rockstar, they have two games that are popular, Grand Theft Auto and Red Dead Redemption. And then they tried a brand new thing, LA Noire. It was fantastic, but that's the only game they have. I want another LA Noire. I want another detective simulator game, but we're not going to get that for some fucking reason because they're spending a decade and a half working on Grand Theft Auto 6 where they could be making money everywhere else. Even though Red Dead Redemption 2 was a fantastic game, it's way better than its predecessor, in my opinion. But that's a whole other argument. But yeah, it's disappointing to see like this is how you make a successful story, whether it be a game or a movie or some form of media. And these big budget companies, they don't care. They want to do it their way and try to milk the non-fans and create a whole new thing and piss off the old fans. That's just what they're good at for some reason. They even do that with some of the Marvel movies. They change this, like Ms. Marvel. She didn't have those powers in the comics, but they didn't want someone with the same powers as Captain Marvel, even though that's the whole point of her being Ms. Marvel in the comics. They wanted her to be like fucking Green Lantern and create apparitions with her hands and shit, which I didn't watch that show. I just saw the trailer and I'm like, this is terrible. But anyway, do you have any thoughts on that, Uni? Sorry, I talked too much.
No, you're good. I was gonna say, like, the one thing to animate the series, they take like about 22 episodes, and when it's live action, it's always like they always compress so much. So I feel more the big problem as well is rushing everything.
Yeah,
rushing everything to just make it fit in 8 episodes versus animation where you have full creativity and you could put as much as 22 episodes just to get their whole point across.
Oh yeah.
And so rushing just trying to compress so much together and just putting it out there. But I don't think they don't take the time at all just to give it its give it its necessary, what is it? Like, they don't give it enough time for it to be effective as it would.
No, I totally agree with that. And that's because of money. Because, for example, another thing they brought up in the video, which, again, I'll link in the description, time constraints, money, and actors. Actors cost money. Anime actors don't cost money because they're not people. They're drawn. You don't pay Goku 5 million zenny an episode. You just draw him, and that's it. With people, you have a set amount of time, and then they're done for the day because they don't want to fucking be there because you paid them, and they're out. Or you call them back for reshoots and shit and whatever. And that is the problem. That's the problem with adapting something into a movie, because movies are super time restricting and you have to cut out so much. That's why TV shows are so much better for this vehicle of it being a vehicle for a type of adaptation like Cowboy Bebop. It was I would give Cowboy Bebop a 5 out of 10. Visually, it was stunning. Story was terrible. The actors themselves, I didn't really have a problem with. Jet, he was good. Spike was good. Faye was fine. Everyone else, not really. Ed was fine, even though people were turned off by how he was introduced. But wannabe Javier Bardem when there was annoying as fucking vicious. But other than that, like, TV is just the best way to do it. And even so, they just need to stop cutting out stuff. But segueing off of this, I don't know if you guys, I know, Boss, you're a fan of Avatar: The Last Airbender. Are you, Uni?
Yeah.
Did you guys know that, they released an image of, well, I don't know. Okay, so the first movie comes out, I think, October 2025. It'll be about Aang, Katara, Sokka, and Toph as adults, right at, years after the original series ended. And so I don't know what's going on. I just know that's like the plot line originally. And then they released a poster of the second movie, which will be all about Zuko, which comes out October 16, 2026, I believe. So that should be pretty interesting, because I totally forgot. I'm like, wait, he's a central character too. And then but I'm excited for those because for two reasons. One, they're going to be theatrical releases, which you don't really see often, and now you're seeing more often now with animation, cartoons and anime, especially with Dragon Ball and Demon Slayer. And then the original creators are working on it because they left the fucking Netflix show, which I'm pretty sure that's going to bomb, and they're now working on these new 3 canon movies. So I'm totally excited for that.
I like the idea that okay, if they're sending it in the future, they're sending it in a point where there hasn't been any material on it already, so they get to just have original material. So
yeah,
for one, you can't say, "Oh, well, you fucked up because it doesn't have," like, no, this is the material. There's nothing to base it on, so that's cool. Zuko, if it's growing up with him and Azula and his mom and dad, that would be an interesting story because they still didn't really say a lot. I know they did like they had like a manga chapter or something about his mother, or like a side thing about how she saw him. He saw her in jail or something. But yeah, that family dynamic still has a lot to open up, especially with just like what was his name, Azulan, the Fire Lord, and his dad.
Yeah. I think so. I don't
So
remember.
that's a lot for a full movie. But yeah, seeing them as like adults would be interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because when I was watching, like for me, like when I watched, Korra, I was like, what the fuck happened in between all this? Like Aang is dead. I'm like, oh, we have these brand new characters. All of them are new characters except, Katara who's there, and then, Toph later on. It's like, oh, hey, these guys are here, but they're old as shit. Like, that's a huge time gap. And I would love to know what happened in between, the first and second stories and whatever. That would be pretty cool. I need to try to remember something. Were you going to say something, Uni?
No.
Oh.
No, I was agreeing with you because like we saw when Aang was becoming the airbender, but I'm sorry, not the airbender. Hold on. Sorry, I got confused.
That's okay.
We saw Aang as he was becoming what was it? The Avatar. That was the worst thing. We saw him as he was becoming the Avatar, but we didn't see him when he was the Avatar during that time. We got flashbacks from Korra, but not necessarily like this was what's going on. This is how the world was changing because so much changed in Korra.
Yeah.
That I was so like left confused, but it was still good. It was still good, but it was still like so much time has passed that it seems like centuries passed.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. And I was gonna now I remember with the whole what you were saying, boss, about what's great that there's no original story for these new stories, giving the freedom for the creators to do whatever they want. That's like George R. R. Martin still being alive to tell people how to change his universe with like House of Dragon, for example, because like Rings of Power makes changes, but the creator's dead, and his son doesn't want to have anything to do with it. Christopher Tolkien, he's dead too. The grandson doesn't want to have anything to do with these adaptions, and he's not going to make changes to the universe because that's J.R.R. Tolkien's universe. But George R. R. Martin, he's still alive. He can mid TV show tell the House of Dragon people, actually this is lore correct. This is this and whatever. And that's always cool when you still have the creator around to change a completely original story to make, anything happen in his vision, because it is his story, because he's still existing and he's a big part of it. So I'm glad to see that from the Avatar creators. I am disappointed that they had to leave Netflix, and the reason behind that was because Netflix didn't want to give him more money for more visual effects, which in that case is stupid, because Avatar is all about, a lot of it is about the visual effects, because there's so many particles flying around, fire, water, air. Well, air particles are just invisible or white lines, and earth particles and shit. And Netflix wants to be a cheap fuck and not give them any more money for that, so that they left, and as well as other creative differences. So I'm hoping I'm hoping these will be an amazing experience, because as much as I loved Korra, I didn't love it as much as The Last Airbender. Korra was great for like a couple seasons. In my opinion, that whole spirit crap was annoying. I love the first season because Steve Bloom was the villain, of course, and bloodbenders. I've always wanted to see more story on bloodbenders. I like to see. Well, okay. Do you guys remember the prisoners? Was that a part of the spirit arc thing, where like Korra had to fight that airbender guy who was a prisoner? You remember?
Mm-mm.
Fuck. Okay, this is a Google thing. Hold on. Legend of Korra villains. I think his name starts with like a Z. Zahir. Yeah. Okay. I thought that was a cool. Story arc with the escaped prisoners and different benders, because he was he was an airbender, and then finishing off with Kuvira and whatever. I thought that was also interesting to see metal bending become super big in whatever after Toph discovered it as well as seeing more lava bending, because that wasn't. I like seeing the subgenres. That's a weird way to put it. The subcategories of bending. That's always interesting. Like lightning bending, lava bending, fucking even sand and metal and shit. That's always cool and whatnot.
Wait, lava bending will be what?
Lava bending is part of earth bending. Because, yeah, that's, what's his name? Bolin or whatever. He discovered he was a lava bender when he was trying to metal bend, and he accidentally, he bended the earth under him, and then, like, lava came out, and he's like, oh, crap, I'm actually a lava bender. Okay. That was pretty cool. I think they were doing it because Korra was trying to learn metal bending to stop Kuvira. And I think it was Kuvira or somebody just learned metal bending in general, and she couldn't really get around to it. And Bolin gave it a shot, and he ended up being a lava bender. So that was pretty cool. He's like, oh, yeah. To me, I think that's cooler. It's fucking lava. Metal's great, but it's lava. It's hot. Let's see what else. So yeah, I'm excited for that. Some other news for geeky stuff. If you guys know the composer John Williams, who does, Star Wars and Indiana Jones and a whole bunch of other shit. He was supposed to retire last year. He actually unretired as of, I think it was this week. Because, like, Steven Spielberg was congratulating him on, thank you for doing music for Indiana Jones 5. John Williams is like 90 years old, for crying out loud. Which, I thought he was going to enjoy his last 10 years. But Steven was like, I can't really, it's hard to continue making movies without this guy. I really want to thank John. John comes up and he's like, well, if you feel that way, I guess I can give you another 10 years. So I'll get back to making music. I'm just like, what the fuck? That's not usually what someone does at 90 years old, is continue doing their craft. So hats off to him. He's a great composer.
That's ambitious. Betty White was acting like...
Oh, yeah, that's right. Almost 100. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, almost.
What were you going to say, Uni? All right, cut you off.
People love what they do. They just gonna keep pursuing it, honestly.
Yeah, it's like... Oh, sorry, go.
No, that's it.
It's like Nicolas Cage. Nicolas Cage wants to work forever just making movies. He doesn't care if they're successful. He doesn't care if they're bad. He just wants to keep making movies because that's what he does. He's like, this is my career. I'm going to do it until I'm dead, which, in my opinion, that's cool. Some great actors retire and you never get to see another amazing movie from them. Like, can you hear that? No, you can't hear it. Okay, cool. Good microphone. Fucking dogs are barking. Like Sean Connery retired, then he passed. But I really want to see more movies from him or whatever. Jack Nicholson, great actor. Also stopped doing movies too early and whatever, in my opinion. So I don't know. I think it's amazing when actors just keep going even though when they're old. They just... It depends on if it's a successful movie or not, because I've seen like Robert De Niro in like some B movie trailer, and I couldn't believe he was in like a shitty movie. But he's like Nicolas Cage at that point, where he just wants to make money and keep working, which is good for them. Good for them.
Nicolas Cage needs to make one of two things need to happen. He needs to either make 2 more National Treasure films.
Yes.
Or they need to put him in one of the Furious films as his character.
That would be awesome. What the fuck? Did you see his, not his newest movie, his previous movie, the one that got him out of debt?
No.
The Massive Weight of Unbearable Talent. Hold on.
Oh my god, I heard about it.
Hold on, give me a second. Can you stop? Fuck, I am podcasting. Go away.
The film that got him out of debt. He's been in like 100 movies. He has a fast and loose lifestyle, I guess.
Hold on, but he lets go so fast.
Yeah. He must be really trying to be Ghost Rider in real life, and then just costs a lot of money. So he could just leave his own podcast.
This is my, yeah.
This is just top tier.
I think of what is it, Face Off with Nicolas Cage?
Yeah, great movie, John Woo movie. You know it's a John Woo movie because there's like doves. That's like he always does that.
Like I'm thinking, what's his name? Michael Bay. He has explosions.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a Michael Bay film. If it has explosions, it might be in Miami. Um,
Might be random hallway. It just happened. Propane tank.
exactly. Yeah.
Motherfucker. Okay, god damn it. People bothering me and shit. Anyway, sorry about that. What were we talking about? Myself. It's outside. Yeah.
Okay.
Damn, this hurts.
We were talking about director tropes for a second.
Oh, like what?
They had explosions, and I was like John Woo and doves.
Yeah, John Woo is like, he would be the best for like if you were to do live action anime, because he knows how to do that type of action. Like for example, in the video they were showing like a good shoot 'em up scene in like a cafe or whatever, and then they segue into the Matrix. The Matrix, even though it's not an anime, it does great with action that makes it look anime. For example, the most common thing, bullet holes and destruction. When you're in like a big shootout, shit is supposed to be destroyed around you. A lot of movies, they don't really do that. They'll fire a gun and you won't see a bullet hole. It'll just randomly go off and you'll assume it hit something, which it doesn't make for good visual storytelling because you don't see anything actually breaking. Or if you do, it's like, okay, they shoot a bullet and then like a column gets destroyed, but you don't see any bullet holes. You don't see any of the cracks, nothing. And John Woo is good at doing that. When you do a shoot 'em up, everything starts exploding and jumping up in the cafe. Shit starts breaking. Matrix, the hallway scene, all the concrete just starts coming apart, and that's fantastic for movie tropes and shit. And then, of course, you have Quentin Tarantino with feet in all of his fucking movies as a director trope. What else were we?
There are, in terms of, I would like to see John Woo do anything. Like if there is ever a live action, I don't know if there is, but I'm pretty sure there isn't. But if there is like a live action Samurai Champloo, or because I think a lot of that, I think that's one of the harder animes to recreate the fighting sequences.
Yeah.
Just because there's intensity in them, and then there's also like, so for instance, like with Mugen, there's intensity, but it's also like kind of like loosey goosey, kind of like crazy.
Very nonchalant.
So some kind of humor to it. And then like with Jin, there's like it's just by the numbers in a way, like, very like cut, slice, ding, ding, ding. Mm-hmm. And so like you would have to be able to portray accurately the difference in the fighting styles, not just make it all look the same.
Mm-hmm.
And then also just like the way it's thematic, like fighting inside of a closed space, inside of a restaurant, or fighting outside in like a field, or fighting out on a wood plank. They were like when Jin was fighting that dude who smelled like sunflowers, they were fighting like on the side of a river or something.
Mm-hmm.
I think he'd be good at that. I think also the guy, like, because one very good John Woo scene is, if you remember Hard Boiled?
Yes, I love that movie. So good.
11-minute shot of Jia Young-fat in a hospital, shooting up a hospital with a baby in his arms, like saving a baby. It just like, that's one of the best action sequences I've ever seen, and they just let it breathe the entire time. Similar to like shorter, but I think it was The Protector, the Tony Jaa movie, where he's going, and they have like this full running shot of him going into this building. It was like a restaurant. He's like going up floors and kicking people's ass and stuff like that, and throwing them over balconies and stuff. Like anybody who can just take the time to let an action shot have all of its weight, and that's going back to what Umi said, just like letting stuff breathe, letting letting things set in, like not thinking that your audience is dumb and can't understand why people are pausing, or or like having internal dialogue, even if you don't even hear the dialogue, even if there's no voiceover. It's like just understanding why somebody is assessing a situation.
Yeah.
You need a director like that, or whoever did The Protector, whoever did The Raid.
Oh yeah, that too. There was a whole Stuntmen React thing with Scott Adkins, fantastic martial artist and actor. For those of you who don't know, the listeners and viewers that don't know, he's the main character in the Undisputed movies 3 and 4. He's the villain in Undisputed 2 with Michael J. White as the protagonist, and he's also the main villain in Ip Man 4 as the final confrontation villain that Ip Man has to fight in his life. Even though that's not canon, he specializes in kickboxing and Muay Thai, and he's really good at doing a side kick. Like, he'll kick your ass like 30 feet across the room. That's how good he is. But they did a video with him, and how he was explaining how, like, that old style of martial arts and action scenes, it is a dying art, unfortunately. Like, everything is always shaky cam. Everything is like, okay, everything's got to be fast and have terrible choreography instead of just letting everything play out. You train, you master the hits and everything, and you just let the scene play out like a real fight, because you don't have quick cuts and shit when you're actually fighting. You have to think on your feet. You got to, predict where your opponent is going, and you can do that through great choreography and practical effects, which, I applaud, for example, Christopher Nolan for doing that and always being practical. I mean, he recently emulated a nuclear bomb explosion on set like 20 times for the movie Oppenheimer, which I can't wait to see that. But with action scenes playing out and shit, like Ip Man's a really good one, because I know when he went up against Mike Tyson in the third Ip Man movie, he had to really be careful, because Mike Tyson, taps you, you're going to go fly and hit the wall. That's how strong he is. And so I know Donnie Yen, he would be bruised by the end of the day after, choreographing with Mike Tyson. And they don't really plan it out either. Like over here in America, we're going to train, create this choreographed sequence. Asia, you got about 30 minutes. They come up with shit on the fly as they're filming and whatever. They don't have a whole day to dedicate to creating like a kata sequence and whatever. And that's kind of what also makes their film stuff great, because a lot of those happy accidents make it into the movie, and it makes it look believable, because that shit that would, really happen. If you're fighting and you're losing balance like on a platform, and that's not planned, you're actually losing balance. It looks believable. That's something you'd leave in the movie. So I totally agree with you guys. I wish there were more films that had breathable scenes, as you want to call them, because it makes it feel more alive. Especially that 10-minute fight in the Raid 2 in the kitchen. Fantastic choreography. Both of them just wouldn't die, and they got stabbed like 50 times with knives and shit, and they just kept going. Like, what the fuck? I need to rewatch that.
That's a good testament to that style of fighting too, because that I forget what it's called. I'm not gonna try and butcher it, but like yes, it's like literally practical fighting. It's kind of like Krav Maga, where it's like you just have to use as much as you can of your body to inflict damage to the other person's body. So you're going for like the points that, like you're going for like the throat, and you're going for like kneecaps and stuff like that. You're just trying to you're ripping off flesh, like you're doing whatever.
I was gonna add on to that, and like for Krav Maga, Silat, even Muay Thai, like the explosive striking styles are perfect for fight scenes, because yes, they are very practical. Even comedically, Jackie Chan in his style, he's using his entire environment to fight people. Like, the rush hour scenes, those were perfect. He's in the massage parlor, he's fighting guys. He gets his foot stuck in like a trash can. He flips it back, hits a guy, smacks the guy in the front with a trash can because it inflicts more damage than a fist. That is practical. That is what you should do in real life. And you don't have to worry about this honor system and shit that other styles do. So for me, yeah, Krav Maga, Salat, it would be cool to see more fight scenes that are built around practicality, because you watch some fight scenes and you're like, this wouldn't happen. Like even Rocky, like the Rocky movies, totally bullshit. All of it is bullshit. I had like I think it was the same stunt guy. Yeah, Scott. He was commenting on the Rocky movies, and he was like, "Yeah, you wouldn't do 3 jabs in a row because they're just gonna. You just never do 3 jabs in a row or 3 crosses or whatever. Like you got to come up with something else to make it look more believable. But they were all about flash and unrealistic expectations when creating the Rocky movies. But those were great in and of itself. It's just not a realistic boxing choreography in a lot of people's opinion. So, yeah. Let's see. Yeah, fighting. I need to watch. The Protector was such a great movie for Tony Jaa to bounce off of. I'd love to see him in more movies. I know he did like a movie with. He did a movie with like 2 other martial artists that I thought was pretty interesting. I don't know if you ever heard of it. It's I think it was called. Oh yeah, it was Triple Threat. Did you guys ever hear of that one?
No.
That one had the guy Iko Uwais or whatever from The Raid. He was a character. Tony Jaa was a character. Michael J. White was a character. And Scott Adkins was a character. So you have boxing, practical fighting, Michael J. White, kickboxing, Scott Adkins, Muay Thai, Tony Jaa, Iko Uwais, Silat, and then you had one other guy with like Taekwondo. That was fantastic. The movie was terrible, but the fight scenes were awesome because you have like one of each fighting style and shit. I need to, yeah. That's one you should guys check out. That came out in 2019, I believe. Yeah,
I've checked that out. Yeah, it's
good. What are your guys'? Well, speaking of fighting scenes and shit, what are your guys' favorite? Actually, wait. Before I ask that, I was going to say. I will always go back to this for great live action because they actually reference this in one of the Corridor series, Kenshin movies. I haven't finished them. I need to. I'm lazy about it. But the live action Rurouni Kenshin movies are perfect because they know whoever the director is, he knew exactly how to film the sword combat to make it feel powerful like anime, but it's not so over the top that it's ridiculous in the sense of like they didn't have Kenshin shouting out his abilities like he does in the anime. They don't have him like drag his sword across the ground and he creates like a fucking fissure in the earth and rocks fly up everywhere. No, they just had a different style of fighting to portray the anime's story in the fight scene. In real life, with fighting, you take a sword, you usually hack it sideways, hack it up and down. In this Kenshin series, a lot of it is super, super close. Like, a lot of it is like, I'm going to slice here, drag the sword across here to block or something. Everything is nice and tight. And they also rely heavily on the environment and moving from scene to scene and using cameras like overhead and going through the forest as he's fighting. I don't remember the name of the first villain in the first movie with the gene. Is it called the Jinpo? The eye technique where he looks at the sword and unlocks his inner power. That whole fight scene was just fantastic, and whatnot. It wasn't even over the top. It was just very well done, and Asia's really good at doing fight scenes correctly, which America could take a lesson from. But I was going to ask you guys, what would you say is your favorite martial art movie series? Like if you were to pick one.
Movie series? Oh, that's tough. Omi, go ahead while I think about that.
Yeah. Uni?
Sure.
Oh.
The only guy that pops into mind, is this just watching Jackie Chan, but no, what is it? Is it IP Man?
Yeah, Ip Man.
Yeah. Sorry, Ip Man. Yeah.
Did you see all of them?
No, I didn't. I thought I did, but I didn't. I missed like one. No, I'm not really sure right now, but it will be just between those two, just in general. Watching Jackie Chan, just like you were saying, like I just watching him making his own stunts and just using his environment, just being himself, just using his actual skills to film. Mm-hmm. And then for sure, IP Man.
Yeah.
And then anybody else?
I was gonna agree with you. Like the Ip Man's fantastic. Donnie Yen is so great, even though that's not his main martial art. He mainly does MMA. He prefers that because it's more practical than Wing Chun. But okay, so technically there are 5 movies in the Ip Man universe. You have Ip Man 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you have Master Z. I think it's Master Z or the Legend of Z, one of those, where it goes more in depth on one of the antagonists from Ip Man 3, which Ip Man 3 has Mike Tyson. There's another guy in there who was challenging Ip Man to being a grandmaster of Wing Chun, and he's like, well, my style of Wing Chun is better than your style. I'm going to challenge you, and if I win, I'm the master. You have to quit. It's that whole, ancient fighting honor code or whatever, where if you lose, you pack your bags, you get the fuck out of here forever. And the kid, they made an entire movie based on his character and why he went this path. So I thought that was a pretty cool thing, because you don't usually see that with these movies. You just see the main character and then they go into like a sequel. So you should definitely check that out, because with those movies they really brought Wing Chun to the surface and how cool it was. And it was even cool to see a little bit of young Bruce Lee in there, even though he kind of got his ass kicked in one scene. Yeah, I was like, what the? I thought he was indestructible. I'm like, okay, I guess he didn't win all his fights unscathed or whatever. He was still learning because he was a cocky little shit. But I still thought that was incredible. I personally, like, out of those, you can't beat the first Ip Man scene where you have him versus 10 10th belt 10 degree black belt karate masters, and then you have the grandmaster of Wing Chun in the room, and you just have Ip Man shit on all 10 of the guys in front of the general of the Japanese army, that was an incredible scene. The final scene for Ip Man 2 where he's fighting a boxer, that's incredible, because usually if a boxer goes up against a Wing Chun artist, chances are the Wing Chun artist is going to die, because a fist will hurt you more. Like, the closed fist from boxing hurts more than a Wing Chun punch, because Wing Chun's all about speed and deflection and, doing everything really quickly, versus boxing, hit as hard as you can, as fast as you can, just with a cross, wham, you lay someone out instantly. You don't really have that with Wing Chun. And then, you get further into that with Mike Tyson in the third one, and then the kickboxing with Scott Adkins in the fourth movie is just fantastic, because Scott Adkins is just fucking cool. Like, if you need to watch I highly suggest watching the Undisputed movies, Undisputed 2, 3, and 4. You don't really need to watch the first one. That's like Wesley Snipes, and it's not as good. But like, Wesley Snipes is irrelevant anymore. But
he needs a movie to get out of bankruptcy.
He does, for real. It would have been cool to see him as like Blade, but they already replaced him for that shit with some guy. So that'll be interesting to see.
Huh? He's too old.
Yeah, he is. That is another issue with a lot of these fucking actors and people wanting them to stay their character. They're too fucking old already, unfortunately. And the comic book characters, they don't age because they're just drawings and shit. But
they create some alternate world where, like, if they did a shit where it's like Far From Home, where it's like, oh, well, alternate Blade, but who wants to fucking see alternate Blade? So,
nobody. Yeah.
No.
Yeah. I would love to see. Well, I mean, it would be cool to just see him for like a second, and like he'll probably. It would be nice to see him like in Secret Wars if that big movie has Blade in it, and then because that's the multiverse battle. That is the multiverse battle with like 70 fucking cameos and shit in there, like the 100 or however much are into the Across the Spider-Verse series, which should be interesting. I remember, like, I know a lot of people watch that and they're like, I had a seizure watching the trailer because there's so many fucking colors. But I think it's fucking cool. But going back to the fighting movies, did you figure out one yet, boss, or no? Or a series?
Yeah, so I don't think I really have like a particular series that I like the best.
That's fine.
Because fighting kind of blends with action to me. Like John Wick isn't really like a martial arts series; it's more of an action series.
It still counts. That's cool.
I like there's particular fighting films that I like of course, Fist of Fury.
Oh yeah, that's a classic.
The Game of Death, the unfinished version. I mean, of course, you got to nod Bruce Lee if we're talking about fighting.
Oh yeah, Enter the Dragon. Yeah.
I liked.
Bloodsport.
There's films again that aren't necessarily like Old Boy. I liked all the fighting in that. Just like practical.
I haven't seen that.
He literally, he's beating up guys from watching karate or martial arts movies for like the long time that he'd been stayed as a prisoner. So he's like, can these skills work? Like, all I've done is just watch this stuff. Will it
That's
work?
crazy.
And whacking people with hammers and shit. Like, oh, I guess it does. Oh, you didn't see that?
That's nuts.
There's this really good. There's a couple movies that are martial arts films that aren't super great but have great scenes. Like in terms of boxing, like I think the best boxing scene I've seen was there's this Jackie Chan film called Gorgeous, and he's fighting up against this guy who's like this kind of like really good boxer, like this kind of he's a tall white dude. He's kind of like a rough kind of guy, but he's slick and he looks nice. And they have like this whole boxing sequence inside of a warehouse, and it's just really like it's the closest you're gonna see to like an actual boxing match happen in a film, because they pause, they feint. Of course, Jackie uses like a couple of things in his surroundings, but like it looks like boxing. Like they're tapping gloves,
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So, yeah. I mean, if you want to default and cop out, maybe John Wick, but
I mean, John Wick is perfect in my opinion. Like they do so well with all the gun choreography and how real people would act in a tactical situation with, his kind of training. Because I saw the corridor video where they had, actual people who are, I think it's like ex-military or something, or security or whatever. They knew exactly what they were doing, and they were complimenting John Wick on how all the fight scenes were, and how this is exactly how you should act when you have a gun and you're in the middle of a firefight, versus most of Hollywood where you just stand there and you just spray and pray and hope to fucking hit something. No, with John Wick, you have to be super tactile in where you're moving, where your gun position is, and how to use your bullets effectively without, wasting shit or whatever. So
yeah,
that's a good choice.
And he reloads and he takes guns off other people.
Yeah,
and
he doesn't have infinite ammunition.
No infinite ammo. No God mode. He gets shot.
Oh yeah. He gets shot. He gets stabbed. And he'll fucking kick your ass either way. For me, I would have to go Undisputed, mainly because I forgot. I think it was my cousin Joey. Yeah, cousin Joey turned me on to it, and he's like, "You got to watch this Undisputed." I watched the second one. I'm like, okay, boxing versus MMA fighter, and then the third one is all about the MMA fighter Scott Adkins. That's like at his physical biggest, because he's fucking huge in that movie, and he plays this Russian prisoner guy who they fight martial arts tournaments for entertainment, for freedom and whatever. And the third one is interesting because you see him go up against a capoeira fighter, you see him go up against a taekwondo fighter, against boxer or whatever, and his line is he's the most complete fighter in the world. And you see how he has to adjust his style for handling different opponents, which is great about being an MMA fighter, because it's literally a mixture of martial arts. And he's like, okay, how do I take out the capoeira guy? His legs, because he's dancing around and shit. I have to fucking kick him in the leg and he's going to become immobile. How do I stop the boxer? Okay, I got to hit him in the body, or, something like that or whatever. And I find that quite cool. And then for story-wise, for me, Jet Li's Fearless will always hold a special place in my heart, because that's Jet Li's final epic martial arts movie. Everything else is just like, okay, he's a villain, or he's like a villain, or he's like a side character, and he just fights like for the Expendables or whatever. It's not like focused on him. And Jet Li Fearless, it's about a Chinese guy who's the master of wushu, and he's trying to defend the honor from China being taken away from Westerners because they're like, you know what, your shit doesn't hold up against boxing. And then, you know, it's that constant tale of the West taking over Asia, and he leaves China and he comes back and he sees it's been assimilated, and then he does like a final tournament and he fights all these other people. Even though they poison him, he manages to succeed to some degree, and he fights like this samurai, and the samurai's like, you know what, I give up because he truly beat me in this fight, you know. And I like seeing that level of accuracy when it comes to honor, because you could fight as hard as you want, but if you know you're truly beaten, you should just fucking admit it and not be an asshole and keep driving the fight into the ground thinking you're the winner, when in reality you lost because the other fighter is great. Even if they died in the process, which is what happened in the movie, the guy's like, Jet Li's the winner, I forfeit because I can't keep up with him or whatever, even though I can clearly see one of you fuckers poisoned him with tea or whatever. So, yeah, fighting movies are great. I wish they had more, but that's like Asian specialty because it doesn't really fly over here. Over here in America, we have reboots, fucking superhero movies, and that's it. That's all we fucking have. And everything else that's interesting is like is like Netflix or whatever, like Knives Out or whatever, which the Glass Onion movie was really good. I don't know if you guys saw Glass Onion or even the previous Knives Out film. Did you?
No, I don't think so.
You should check it out. It's pretty good.
I know. I saw Knives Out. I saw that the Glass Onion movie is 2.5 hours.
Wait, how long was the other one?
Gotta invest in that. Like 2.
Oh, okay. Yeah. It's interesting. It's good. It's every bit as entertaining as the first one, in my opinion. And I like seeing that Daniel Craig has another acting outlet instead of him being just James Bond. Like he looks like he's having fun as a, you know, excited detective in these movies, as opposed to being this ripped British secret agent guy who's saving the world and shit. So the Knives Out movies are pretty good.
I think they're having a new James Bond, right?
Mm-hmm. I think so.
Yeah, well, they have to, because I mean, I don't know how they're gonna do it. Because have you guys seen No Time to Die?
Yeah,
I haven't seen any of the Daniel Craig James Bond films.
Oh,
even Quantum of Solace, which is apparently very good.
Oh wow, yeah. You don't need to see Quantum of Solace. Like if you watch them, Casino. Well, technically you do for a bit of lore, like a little connection that'll connect you to the rest of the movies. But like Casino Royale is like the best, and then under that you have Skyfall, Spectre, and then No Time to Die, and then Quantum's all the way at the bottom. But
okay, we're probably talking about that one then. Yeah, Casino
one?
Royale, the Casino Royale.
Oh,
the game. I haven't seen any of them, so whichever one is the really good one.
That's the good one because it's apparently I haven't read the book, but it's like the best adaptation of that story, because the original Casino Royale was shit according to the fans. And
I think it was a parody movie or something, wasn't it?
I don't remember. It was from the 60s. Yeah. But I rewatched it recently and I thought it was fantastic. I was like, this is a great fucking spy movie. It does everything perfectly. There's no like plot holes or anything that I could see. Wait, Uni, you said you saw No Time to Die or no?
No, I got confused.
Okay, never mind. I can't speak on it then as to what needs to change with the James Bond thing, in case you do see it or whatever. But I think it'll be a while before they do that, because they did something different with No Time to Die that I'm not going to spoil, even though it's been out for a while. So I hope they come up with something cool. It just, they need to keep the momentum going. And what was interesting about the Daniel Craig series was that's the first time a story has been connected. Because usually it's just like, hey, Bond, we're going to go on a mission to save the world sort of thing. But, Casino Royale was linked. All these movies were linked together in one integral story. That hasn't been done before in the Bond universe. Everything is just, it's different actor playing Bond, but it's still Bond. And the story, GoldenEye, is completely separate from like Tomorrow Never Dies or whatever. They have like, except for like the characters and shit. What else was I going to mention? Did you guys see The Batman last year?
The Robert Pattinson one? No, I haven't seen it.
Yes.
You got to watch it, boss. It's okay. The only problem is it's dark. Like, you need like a flashlight if you're watching it, because they just the whole movie is so fucking dark. I get it's Batman, but like you can't see shit. It's it's DC, but that's Batman. He's the edgelord. He is the edgelord. He's all about being broody. I highly recommend seeing it. It's a fantastic movie. It's in case you don't know about it, it's basically the depiction of the story of Batman Year 2, where it's the second year of him being Batman, and he's still learning the ropes of being a detective, being a rich guy playing, a vigilante and whatever. So he's not the badass Batman that we're all used to yet. He's still working on it. And I say they do a pretty good job of that whole movie. And I bring this up because Matt Reeves, the director, he says that Colin Farrell's Penguin, he has his spin-off TV show, the Penguin series, that's going to connect directly into the Batman sequel movie. So if you're into the first movie, you're going to have to watch the TV show to learn about what happens next for the next movie. So I find that pretty cool. I like how they take movie stories and they link them through television to link to another movie, i.e. Marvel, because Marvel Cinematic Universe now encompasses all their new TV shows with their movies, which I find cool despite a lot of it being overwhelming and unnecessary. But yeah, I like seeing that in other outlets. And I think Matt Reeves is actually trying to make James Gunn officially say his Batman is some type of canon. Like, yes, this is a real universe in the James Gunn universe. It's not just a Matt Reeves story, because I know Matt Reeves' Batman, that's not going to be a part of James Gunn's DCEU, but I think he's trying to get him to agree to a point where he's like, this could be a multiverse story at some point where you could see Robert Pattinson come as Batman in like the multiverse arc, whenever the hell that happens, because DC has their own version of the multiverse arc.
I think if they make a Crisis series, I would want to see it, but at the same time, they're gonna destroy it.
We don't know that. We don't know that. That's
they don't even have Henry Cavill as Superman anymore. They don't have Ben Affleck is going to be old. And it's funny because that movie was made like 3 years ago and it's coming out now. So it's going to be like, Ben Affleck is Batman again? What the fuck? So
I'm surprised. No. Yeah, they got rid of them and they're keeping Ezra Miller, a criminal who has beaten women, groomed children, and done other domestic violence things. They're keeping him. For whatever reason, Warner Brothers wants to hang on to him and push out that movie. Even though they canceled fucking Batgirl, whatever that movie, they canceled that shit. And they got rid of all these other old actors. Like, why? I don't know. I don't know why they need to keep him. I don't want to see that movie. I really don't. But I have to, because it's the end of the Snyderverse. And, that's what I was going to say. Matt Reeves wants to make his universe more important than the Snyderverse. Yeah, because the Snyderverse has been phased out, unfortunately. I don't give a shit. I love the Snyderverse because I'm used to DC being edgy. I don't really care about Superman. He's never been my favorite character because he's a Boy Scout. And Captain America did a better version of being a Boy Scout than Soups. But I'm interested to see where this goes. And I hate that they got rid of Henry and he's only 39 years old. But James Gunn wants to start off with a young everybody because he wants to tell the story of these superheroes creating the image that everyone is supposed to see and admire from the start. Like the Batman being 2 years into the Batman shoes, he wants to replicate that effect with Superman, a new Batman, Aquaman, whatever, whoever's going to be in the new thing. And I know he really liked the Justice League animated series, apparently. So there's hope there, because Darkseid was one of the big bads in the animated series, because he was after, the anti-life equation, and so was Amazo, which I thought was a really cool villain, a by a cybernetic android that had the ability to copy other superheroes' abilities at will. But then, at the end, he's like, I'm just going to go find the meaning of life or whatever, like Dr. Manhattan did with Watchmen, which kind of sucked. But I mean, he couldn't, like, Superman couldn't even beat him. So that was incredible.
Yeah, Rizzo got so strong. I can't remember if it was Lex Luthor with Darkseid or him, but I think it was with him, where like Amazo got so bored he was like, I don't even want to be here anymore. Like I'm so strong, I have no purpose. And I think Lex Luthor showed him like a purpose.
It was Dr. Fate.
Dr. Fate did. Okay.
Yeah, Dr. Fate's like, come with me, I'll help you out with this, and then he just teleports out.
Yeah. He's like, I'm gone. I'm golden. I'm out of here.
Yeah, I always thought that's amazing with certain superheroes, because Dr. Manhattan does that too. He's like, I'm so powerful, I don't know what to do anymore. I can literally create and destroy matter. Like, how much more powerful can you get than that? It's hard. I mean, unless you control time. But those two guys got so powerful. And like Manhattan, he goes to live on the fucking moon, and Amazo's like, I need to go find a purpose in existing, because I don't need to fight you because there's no reason to. I'm bored. And to me that makes an interesting villain, even though it's not, because it's not an overplayed trope or whatever. It's just, it's sprinkled here and there. The moment you're referencing is when Lex Luthor discovers the Source Wall, and he comes back out of thin air, I believe, and gives Darkseid the anti-life equation, and they both touch it, and they both disappear from reality and become a part of the Source Wall in the Justice League animated series, which the Source Wall is apparently, that is the boundary between the animated series and literally real life. So if you go past that, you now exist in the real world, like here on this podcast, if they were to escape. That's an interesting story device that I would have never thought to be a real thing, a Source Wall.
Holy shit, that sounds amazing.
It does.
Yes, that was that scene. That's awesome.
Yeah, I don't think you can ever actually go past it, because once you go to it, or actually technically in the cartoon, when they look at the anti-life equation, they just became a part of it, and they're forever going to be a part of it. They're just stuck there, and I don't think they're dead or alive. They're just a part of the Source Wall. Like, once you see eternity or whatever, you're gone. Yeah, you are a part of eternity forever. You've reached the pinnacle of your existence, whatever it is. Which is weird, because Darkseid in the he's not. That's just one Darkseid. Darkseid doesn't exist in that universe ever. Every time you see Darkseid, it's a projection of his actual form in his own separate universe, where he's a giant face. I learned that from Death Battle. I was like, oh shit, that explained why Thanos could never beat Darkseid, because he exists in his own fucking universe, and he's equally as powerful there as he is wherever his projections are, which I find quite cool, and that's incredible for a villain. Like, he's just so fucking overpowered, and he just loves fighting Superman.
That's right. Yeah, depending on the universe, he'll project as something else. So like,
yeah.
So he'll look like
Mm-hmm.
You guys remember that Simpsons episode? Speaking of like crossing over, that Treehouse of Horror episode where Homer is in the fourth dimension, and then
I remember that. That was funny. Fucking Simpsons.
Funny,
good shit. I remember bits and pieces of The Simpsons. I never watched it religiously like everyone else. Same with South Park. I wish I did. My parents were very anal about the TV shows growing up, so if I had Simpsons on, I had to sneak it in. South Park I couldn't watch till I fucking left high school, and then I was old enough, and then my mom would actually just sit with me and watch the TV show and just laugh along with it, which I wish she did when I was younger. Then I'd be able to get the references like you fuckers did in high school, but I didn't get that till later. I'm like, oh, this is what they were referencing. I was so far behind. Was that the case for you, Uni? Did you ever get into Simpsons, South Park, and what's your take on the DC world and stuff?
We would watch I know I watched DC. I watched Marvel because of my brother. We're really into X-Men.
Oh.
We watched Simpsons because we always thought it was like a family cartoon, and then realizing like it's not a family cartoon because we would also watch Family Guy, all the Adult Swim stuff, and The Simpsons. What was it? The Simpsons. Oh, South Park. South Park. Actually, you know what?
You watch that as a
Remember?
family?
Not as a family, but we'll watch like the kids will watch it together because it was a cartoon.
Oh
And
boy.
our parents did not notice, but our grandma did. I'm trying to remember. Do you remember Jack and Silent Bob?
Jay and
Joe and
Silent
Silent
Bob. Jay and
Yeah,
Silent
the series.
Bob.
Yeah.
It was like 10 episodes.
Yeah.
Remember that the episode or the movie where they're babies and they meet for the first time in the first word?
Oh yeah, yeah, I remember that.
We were watching that. We were watching it, and our great grandma was there, and she was just like looking at us. My great grandma, may she rest in peace. She is so religious.
Oh boy.
Watching, what the is this? You kids are, and like she was just like, "What is this shit? What do you guys keep watching?" And we're just like, "What's wrong with grandma?" We don't understand what's going on. They're so accustomed to it.
Yeah.
But no.
Did you guys watch the third Clerks movie?
I came out.
Yeah, it came out last year.
Oh, Clerks 3. Yeah,
Yeah.
I did see Clerks 3. Yeah, I did see Clerks 3.
Did you, Uni?
That was awful.
Well, what was the setting?
The setting was, the plot is they're literally telling the story of how the first movie came to existence.
Like how the first, like before.
No, like how they like how they actually went about filming the first movie. That is the story of this movie, and how Kevin Smith is like, oh hey, we're gonna make this movie called Clerks. They make that the plot of this movie. It's a movie about how they made a movie.
It's a lot like the Jay and Silent Bob reboot, where like it just gets so meta.
Oh my god, yeah.
Where, like, because like Dante has a heart attack. Or no, who is it? Kevin? Or who's the other dude?
The
Randall.
shit. Yeah, Randall.
Randall has
Yeah.
a heart attack, and so
Wait,
like,
we're spoiling.
that's the beginning of the movie. That's not even the spoiler.
Oh, okay.
The spoiler is dog shit.
Oh yeah.
But
yeah.
Randall has a heart attack, and so like Dante visits him, and he's like, "Oh man, you know, you almost died, and like, what are we doing? What are we doing with our lives situation?"
Yeah.
And it's like, "Hey, let's go make a movie about our lives," and then they start filming Clerks while they're filming Clerks 3.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So retarded. But yeah, that movie. Yeah. People, you like it, you love it, or you hate it.
I thought it was a nice ending to the trilogy. You look at it and it's like, this is a bitter, sweet ending, and that's about as far as I'm going to go with that description. So you can watch it, Uni, and enjoy it. Yeah. Wait, how did we get to Jay and Silent Bob? Oh, we were talking about cartoons and shit. I don't know what I was going to say on that. Nope. Do you guys watch Rick and Morty?
Yeah.
Boss?
I stopped after season 3.
What the fuck? You need to hurry up. Man, the story gets so much better later, especially like Rick's backstory. He actually has backstory, and you feel emotional for him because, okay, he's not just a drunken, crazy, mad scientist. There's a lot more to a reason why he's an asshole, and you're like, shit, okay, now I understand. So catch up, especially season 5, where there's an episode that they explain why he is the way he is, and it's like, fuck, I didn't know that. So yeah.
It gets even deeper.
The what?
It gets even deeper.
Oh yeah, it gets even deeper. Season 6 goes into that. Same with Morty, which I know some people are tired of the fact that it's always like Morty wants to have freedom. He wants to have freedom and shit, and Rick's just trying to be a nice grandfather sometimes, and he's like, okay, fine, you can do whatever you want, Morty, I'll just listen to you, this will be your choice, and whatever problems happen, I'm not going to fix it. And Morty's always just like, yeah, and then at the end, Rick's like, I fucking told you so, you didn't listen to me, this is why I do this and this. But even though they recycle that theme, I don't have a problem with it, because it happens like that in real life with people will constantly fuck up, and it takes them several mistakes before they learn their lesson. I'm one of those people, definitely. But I bring this up because Justin Roiland got arrested, even though, like, I know in 2020 there were charges for domestic violence on him, which sucks for viewers that don't know. This is the creator of the series as well as the game High on Life, which I need to play. But the charges didn't go through until this year recently. So, yeah, that really sucks. And I hope it doesn't fuck over the rest of his career, because apparently he was being abusive to some lady he was dating in 2020, which really sucks because I want to see season 7 and 8 of Rick and Morty, but who knows at this point where that's going to go. Good job. I don't know why celebrities have to fuck up their life like that. So stupid.
Well, anybody with a bunch of money, what's the saying? Once you get a bunch of money, you show who you really are.
I've never heard that saying, but it makes fucking sense. It makes sense. I mean, look at Ezra Miller's a perfect example of that. He's rich and famous, and he's like, okay, I get to do whatever I want. I have money. I can beat people with a chair. I can groom children because I'm a celebrity. And somehow he avoided one of the court cases he had. He somehow avoided any charges. I don't know how he did that, but he's got several other ones, and Warner Brothers, I guess, is protecting him. But anyway, yeah, it's just sad to see people you look up to, like Justin Roiland, because he makes a great TV show, and a game, to get fucking arrested and shit. So that sucks. Huh?
No, I just unplugged the wrong light. I need to charge my computer.
Oh, okay. A couple other things. Oh, where's he going? Oh, he's going over there. A couple other things to reel off quickly. I'm disappointed that Avatar 2 is doing well, because I hated the first movie. Everyone likes the Avatar Way of Water because it's so beautiful, but in reality it's a shitty movie because it has a terrible story, but everyone's just captured by the visuals. And to me, as even though I did some filmmaking and I took filmmaking classes, and I was in that world for such a long time, it disappoints me to see that the selling point of those movies is the CGI. Like, the CGI is so good, that's the only reason why these people are seeing it. Even though a better movie last year was Top Gun Maverick. It was the perfect sequel to a already fantastic original movie. They didn't need a sequel, but they made one 20-some years later that was perfect. That's something Disney could learn from, because they didn't do that 28 years later with fucking Tron Legacy. They fucked that movie up. Visually beautiful, but the story was bad for Tron Legacy. And Maverick was not. It was visually great, and the story was great, and now they're even making another sequel. But James Cameron is going to continue pushing this, and he's taking notes from Last Airbender, I guess, because he's like, oh, this is the water tribe. There's going to be a fire tribe that's going to be the enemy, and he's shooting down things, saying he's not copying Last Airbender. I'm like, bullshit. The main villains in the Last Airbender is the Fire Nation, so he's getting that from somewhere. Like, fire, like, I don't know any other universe that has fire related anything being the main villain other than the Last Airbender series. So that's, to me, I don't. Do you guys like the Avatar movies? Have you seen the new one?
I haven't seen the new one. I have not seen the new one.
Did you care about the first one?
I like the first one. And the only reason, the second one, what caught my interest is that, for the first, how, I forgot what her main character was named, but how she was passing and she gave her soul to the tree, or the tree took her soul.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I haven't seen the second one, but I feel like I can't even say anything until I see it. But I'm interested. Interested to see what is the story.
Okay.
Anything.
No, it's understandable. I'm just I hope you enjoy it. I hope you enjoy it. I don't want to shit on your parade, so even though I do that with most people, I'm trying not to do that here. But like,
I find like any artistic form to be just as great. Even if it's bad, I would like notice, but I would still like praise it for even trying.
Okay, I understand. Yeah, because like the big thing that I disliked about the first Avatar movie was that it was basically Pocahontas Dances with Wolves retold with aliens all over again. And people were like, wow, this is great. And I'm sitting there like, no, it's not. It's the same story. And I get Hollywood's all about regurgitating stories, but it doesn't always have to be a same story. Like, example, Top Gun Maverick. It's not really a regurgitated story. It's fun. It's action-packed. It's beautiful. Batman, the Batman. It's not really a regurgitated story to the point where you're sick of it. It's a different take on Batman. And Batman has a lot of different stories that are in the comics to pull from. It's not like, okay, this is the hero's journey, this is the basic shit, and the hero's journey is told, from Star Wars that they picked up from, one of the 13 stories that exists in, because there's only 13 stories that truly exist in the world, apparently. That's the movie talk there. But I feel like they could do a better job and not recycle shit from, especially if it's too recent. Like, if you want to recycle something, do it in a way that makes it super unique or whatever, and then you'll draw more people to your media, whatever that may be. So that's my view on the Avatar movies and whatnot. And another quick thing to rattle off, Ubisoft unfortunately delays Skull and Bones again. I know you don't game boss, but did you ever play Assassin's Creed Black Flag?
Nope. It's the ship one, right? Now.
Yeah. So basically they took a team of people from that project and they moved them onto a separate project called Skull and Bones, which basically means you're a pirate, and they capitalize on the pirate ship combat. I lost interest the minute I saw their revamped gameplay, because the cool thing about being a pirate in Black Flag, you can go from ship to ship, swashbuckle, rob people, you take their ship or you destroy their ship, and take their resources. Skull and Bones, you can't do that. You're just in your ship, you blow up another ship, you can't leave your ship, or no, you can leave your ship to go on land, but you can't fight people on land. You just dock to get resources and then you leave. So there's no swashbuckling, which sucks, because that's one of the biggest parts about being a pirate is sword fighting, swinging from ship ropes, and slashing the sails and shit to make sure the enemy ship can't get away. This is just fucking Battleship with docking in the 1800s or whatever. So, and they delayed it for a sixth time for whatever reason. So they're just digging themselves a deeper hole at this point. It's severely disappointing to hear that from Ubisoft, but hopefully they don't fuck over Assassin's Creed Mirage, because that's supposed to go back to its roots of like Assassin's Creed 1 through 4 about being stealthy and having good story about actually being assassins, instead of let's learn about the ancient Greeks and shit and ancient Vikings and Odin that nobody fucking really cares about unless you're a history buff. Yeah.
What is the story of Assassin's Creed now? Does it have anything to do with the Apple of Eden?
Yeah, it still does. It still has to do with, so basically what happened was the story shifted. Well, Desmond died in Assassin's Creed 3, and then you learn about, okay, his brain is in the Animus program at Abstergo for Black Flag, and they're just going to play one of his memory sequences, and you learn, okay, the protagonist Connor from Assassin's Creed 3 is actually the son of, it's the son, his grandfather is the protagonist in Assassin's Creed Black Flag, because you don't see the son until later on in Black Flag at the end of the game. But after all of that, it just shifts into Animus stories and how, the Assassins and Templars, blah blah blah, and then you go to Assassin's Creed Origins about ancient Egypt, and you learn, okay, ancient Egypt, this is where the Order of the Hidden Ones were created, basically the pseudo assassins before they became the Order. Go further back to ancient Greece, you learn about how the Templar Order was created. I forgot what they were called, Order of the Serpent or something. And then you fast forward 100 years after Odyssey, and you learn about more about how the after Origins, you learn about how the Hidden Ones are becoming their own organized order, and how I guess one of their order is basically the incarnation of like Loki or something. But They went too far back to explain the history of Templars versus Assassins, and it threw everybody off because a lot of people just wanted to see what happened in the now. Yeah. And you don't see a lot of that. You see a lot of, like, what's happening in the now is this team of people is running away from Abstergo and logging into the Animus in, like, this special, it looks like a coffin, but they just lay there and they're hooked up to the Animus to find secrets. It has nothing to do with Desmond anymore, but you're learning about the ones who came before. I think they're called the Izu, the people with the Apple of Eden, the people who created that technology and stuff, and how their world got obliterated and how they wanted to recreate society and everything. It got super deep into that over the games. And you even come across, you'll have interactions with old characters through these games, whether it be through like a memory strand or like a flashback somehow of like your ancestor or something. But a lot of people don't have the patience for it. I have the patience for it because I like the entire lore. So I'll just sit through it and learn, okay, so this is how this ties into this. I'm one of those people that seeks out how all of this happened in the now. So it's like telling people to watch Clone Wars, the animated cartoon, to understand Star Wars more. If you watch the Clone Wars, you will understand exactly how the Empire came to be. You'll see how stupid the Jedi were in the TV show and why the Emperor was so successful. The same thing goes with Assassin's Creed. You'll see how the Assassins got themselves so fucked and how the Templars are controlling the world and everything. If you go back and play these old styled games, ancient Greece, ancient Egypt, ancient Norway, and you learn about their stories and how it all cascades down to Assassin's Creed 1, 2, 3, 4, which are, current day and shit. Or even Syndicate. No, Syndicate is different, and so is Unity, but whatever. So what they're doing with Mirage is they're going to Baghdad and they're going to keep it like the old games, and then they're making Assassin's Creed China. No, not China. China's a mobile game. Japan. They're finally doing Japan, but it's going to be open world RPG like the current games are. So it's not going to be anything like the first 4 games. It's going to be more, you're going to have a lot more exploration and freedom to check out feudal Japan and everything as a ninja, basically. So that should be cool because everyone's been wanting that for years, including myself. I've wanted to see Assassin's Creed in a Japanese setting because essentially that's what, like, the assassins back then were the ninjas. They were just farmers and broke people that needed to use guerrilla tactics to kill people and whatever that were, aggravating them and whatnot. So that should be pretty interesting.
Sounds like they wrote themselves into a wall. Let's just say it's by design.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, fuck, we don't really know how to continue forward, so let's just tell a whole bunch of backstory.
Yeah, that's, or either that, and it's probably a mix of that as well as we have this story. Let's create a prequel story because we need to create a prequel story. There's too many people do that. They'll have a main story and then they'll create all this prequel story that nobody asked for, and they'll just go from there. And then they'll make sequels later. Look at Star Wars. You have current story. Let's go in the past, and then they go in the future. I don't know what to tell you with all that.
Nobody wanted the past.
No, nobody really cared. I don't mind the history of Darth Vader, but it's like we didn't really need this for the story. It was totally fine as it was.
That's all take on Star Wars. The prequels is the funniest thing I've ever heard.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Didn't you come with me to see him live and perform that bit? He was like
that I think that was in Hollywood, yeah.
Yeah. It was you, me, Sean, and I think Simon or someone else.
Yeah.
That was fun. He was testing new material and he used that bit. I was like, this is funny. Did you? Oh, I've been meaning to ask you. Have you checked out the Pete and Sebastian podcast or no?
No, is that Pete Holmes and someone?
Pete Corielli.
Oh, no, I have not.
Okay. Yeah, but it's like you asked last time. It's 2 guys just talking about random shit. But it's funny because half of the stuff you'll agree with. that people do weird things. Like, for example, Sebastian Maniscalco has a problem with people taking their shoes off on the plane because that's disgusting and nobody wants to smell your stinky feet on a fucking 5-hour airplane. Or he'll complain about people asking you for their seat, and his counter argument, and I agree with him, is shut the fuck up. I paid for this seat. You can't have it. I'm not going to move because your family couldn't batch together 3 seats in a row. You sit the fuck back there and you suffer for the next 6 hours. I totally want to do that. I've never had that issue, but I agree. You pay for what you get. You know, you get what you pay for. Yeah. And that applies to airlines and shit. But shit, I do want to talk more, but unfortunately we're running close to, we actually went over the mark a bit. So as much as I'd love to talk for 5 hours about geeky shit, it's not going to be able to fit on the podcast website because there's like 150 megabyte limitation. So I'm going to have to cut this short. We can continue it next week. Hopefully John will be here. But thank you, boss. Thank you, Uni, for hanging out today. I appreciate it. Hopefully we can see you guys next week. Thank you to all listeners for listening to this episode of For the Geeks podcast. That's going to do it for us today. You can find us on the links in the description below. The link tree will take you to our Patreon. You can help us out. It only costs $1 just to show your support. This episode should start airing on Tuesdays around noon. I think that's what we agreed on. The video will probably be up on Wednesday around the same time because I usually upload it on Wednesdays anyway. And we should be doing a Gamecast soon. I talked about it with John, I believe, because Microsoft is having their direct presentation on January 25th, so 10 days from now. On a Wednesday, we'll be able to create a Gamecast for that. So that's on the second podcast, also found in our link tree. If you need to find any of my socials, I'll post it in the description as well, at Seeger Plays, at Seeger VFX, all that good stuff for Twitter and Instagram. At For the Geeks with 2 S's for our YouTube channel, as well as our Twitter, and 1 S for the Instagram, and our Twitch as well. All the links will be in the link tree, so you guys can open up that and check it out. So I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Thank you for joining me here. Thank you guys for listening, and I'll see you guys next time. All right.